a bit of a competition looking for a replacement for Mason Shipley. How's it been fielding these transfers and some of these new players that you've taken on? What's it looking like at the kicker position?
Yeah, obviously, every time you lose a player like Mason Shipley, he's up for the Grozer Award. It's a big hit. Right now, we did it by committee. Obviously, we brought in 3 guys. Out of 2 days of practice, I think we're close to 36 field goals, and we've missed 2. So they're all doing well. I think Tyler from USC, he's Jacob, California JUCO, and Michael James bringing his big leg back. He was here originally, brought him back. They all kind of have a different skill set and different trait. If we have to use 3 different ones for 3 different things, we can. If one of them takes over the job and can do everything, we can. But obviously, there's big shoes to fill. And look forward to that competition. We're only 3 days in and 2 field goal periods in. But right now, I'm really pleased with where they're at.
It's your first year here at Texas State. You obviously had a previous relationship with Coach Kinney. Can you kind of go into that? How did you know Coach Kinney? What brought you to San Marcos, basically?
A lot of things. I get that question quite often, especially leaving a place like Auburn. Texas State. But me and Coach Kinney, we worked together in 2018, and we've kind of been best friends since. To be honest with you, we were together at Arkansas with Chad Morris. I was there previously, and then those guys came. We kind of hit it off. His wife Summer and my wife kind of became friends. Miss Summer actually sold our first house that we own, so we've vacationed together every summer since then at our lake house in Oklahoma. We went to DC together, so kind of building that relationship. Truthfully, I was almost coming here when he initially got the job. I just couldn't feel like I turned down Coach Freeze and his staff, being from Liberty, going to Auburn. I just felt like I was called to do it at the time. But obviously, Texas State is important to me because of the relationships. Coach Keppel, offensive coordinator, his dad and my dad coached together in 1998 together. Me and Coach Bryant were QCs together. The list goes on. There's a lot of guys on the staff kind of making a family atmosphere. Grateful for my time at Auburn and Coach Freeze. I wouldn't be here today without him, but I'm excited. My dad's here in the room. He's been in DC, everywhere in the country, and he lives in Fort Worth, so I've actually seen my dad more in probably the last 6 months, and I got 2 daughters. They've been able to see Grandpa. He's actually babysitting for us tonight more in the last 6 months than I probably have the previous 12 years, which is also another factor.
Coach, how often are we going to see Chris Don Jr. Returning punts? Obviously he's going to be super important as a wide receiver, but will he be taking kickoffs or punt returns?
Yes, it's still early in that process, but the good thing we have on this team is we've got a lot of guys who have college return touchdowns. You got Chris, you got Bo, you got DJ transfers, you got Mims from Southern Miss. They were back there catching them today. Obviously, I'm not scared to put 2 of them back there, maybe 3, see who they want to kick it to. It's my job to get the front end and everything, be able to protect them. And whoever's back there, that's our quarterback. Sorry, we got to protect them like they are. But I think if you look at my pedigree and what we've done in the past, we've always been dynamic in the return game, and we've got the guys that do it as well here.
How important is it having those skilled guys, like especially at wide receiver, back there in the punt, not only punt return but also kick return as well?
Yeah, I really truthfully don't care what position they play. Obviously, the more comfortable they are having the balls in their hands, the better. But there's a guy like you look back at last year. Bo really doesn't have a lot of attempts. He just has a lot of yards. That's one thing I noticed when I got here. But Chris is back there catching them. There's guys all over the place that could catch the football, which is the first priority. You got to finish with the football and finish penalty free. We talk about it every day, but what position they actually play. There's been a lot of good ones all across the board. Devin Hester was a DB. Deion Sanders. So what the position they play, go into it. But as long as they're dynamic with the ball in their hand, they'll get a chance to get back there and prove themselves.
Obviously you have a lot of connections here at Texas State. Just like how important did that make in your decision coming here to San Marcos?
It was a big part. Obviously, I don't like talking about too much in the past, but Auburn, the SEC, it is a big deal. And to leave a job like that, and a guy that I played for, wasn't an easy decision. I just felt like it was called. Obviously, I had a little bit bigger role and title here than I did at Auburn. Auburn, I was just a special teams guy. Here, I got to get to have dabble in a lot of different areas, which excites me. And anytime it's just different waking up every morning going to work, to be honest with you. Like, I love Coach Freeze more than anything in the world. But me and GJ were a similar age. We had a similar mindset. And going to work and trying to prove and take a place where it's never been with your best friend is just something I felt like I couldn't turn down.
Can you describe what a kicker battle looks like? One of the biggest headlines in the country anytime there's a quarterback battle. What does a kicker battle feel like?
It's hard, to be honest with you. I think a kicker is one of the hardest players other than quarterback to evaluate, you know, especially coming out of high school. Like, is their snapper bad? Do they kick off a block? Do they kick a helium football? There's a lot of things that go into it. And then, you know, I was blessed at Auburn. We had Alex McPherson my first year there. He was a semifinalist with the Groza with Shipley. He didn't miss a kick, so it was kind of walking to a good situation. You know, he had some health issues last year, so had to play a true freshman who was money in practice and, you know, didn't perform as well as he probably could have in games. So there's a lot of those game reps that matter. We're trying to do as much as we can to get those guys the team reps with the teams around them and simulate game day, because it's different kicking on a stick with me watching compared to 80,000, 30,000 people in the stands and a team when the pressure's on the line. So you just have to do a good job of kind of preparing them and making those situations as much as possible in practice and see which one shows out.